Hello and welcome back to Bicycle Legs and another edition of Studio Albums Ranked. Today I'm going to be looking at the studio albums of the great Boston new wave band The Cars. Now I don't think this list of mine is going to be particularly controversial, but it does give me an excuse to talk about a band that I really love. 7 albums in total, 6 from their initial run and then one sort of comeback album as it were. I think they're all really good albums. I don't think there's a really bad album in this bunch. Your mileage may vary. I know that the one that's at the bottom of my list is probably one that people really don't like, and maybe it's one I could do an in defense of at some point later down the track. Who knows? Anyway, my number 7, as I've probably already given away, is 1987's Door to Door. I think this is a good album. I don't think it's their best album, obviously, because it's at the bottom of my list, but that doesn't mean I think this is a worthless album. And I know a lot of people do think this is a pretty crappy album, but I think this is a really good album. You Are the Girl, I think that's a great single. But there's a lot of good songs here. Leave or Stay, Fine Line, Double Trouble, Strap Me In. The title track, Door to Door. Some of these songs are actually date back to the beginning of their career, and they sort of resurrected them, as it were, for this album. They were sort of striving to get back to their early sound with this album. I don't think that succeeded, but I do think this is a good album and definitely worth a listen. My number 6 is the only one I don't have on vinyl, unfortunately, and that is 2011's comeback album, Move Like This. Really good album, strong album. Rick Ocasek is still in fine voice and he's still writing great songs. Probably the only thing that makes me a little bit sad about this album is that Benjamin Orr's obviously not on it because he passed away back in 2000. We've since lost Rick too, unfortunately. But yeah, still some really good songs. Blue Tip is great. Too Late, Keep On Knocking, Sad Song, Take Another Look, Drag On Forever. Yeah, there's some really good songs on here. You know, as I said, you do miss Benjamin Orr, not just, you know, because it's no longer the classic 5 members of the Cars, but you know, one of the things I always liked about, I love bands that have more than one lead vocalist, and on this one, you know, Rick Ocasek sings everything because Benjamin Orr's not there, and on all the other albums, of course, they trade lead vocals. My number 5 album is going to be 1984's Heartbeat City. Now, this was obviously a massive album for them. You know, I mean, it's got the big hits like Drive and You Might Think and Magic. And, you know, it's a really good album. There's a lot of other good songs on here. You know, Hello Again. My only problem with this album is that it's very slick sounding. Very slick sounding. But there's still, I mean, really good songs. So, yeah. My number 4 might be surprising to some people because they'll probably have it higher in their list. And that is Candy-O from 1979. Great album, really good album. All the albums from here on in are just, to me, stone cold classics of new wave music. Probably the reason I rank this one lower than a couple of the other ones is that I just feel like it's the debut Mark II. There's not a lot of innovation on this album compared with what they did on the first album. Having said that, I mean, any album that starts with Let's Go, I mean, come on. What a great song. You know? Since I Held You, It's All I Can Do, what a great single that one is too. Double Life, Shooby Doo, Candy-O, title track, really good song. You know, Night Spots, You Can't Hold On Too Long, Lust for Kicks, got a lot on my head, and Dangerous Type, again, a great album closer, Dangerous Type, what a great song. That's probably the only reason I mark this one down, is just because it is quite similar sound-wise and what have you to the debut album. My number 3 is going to be 1980s Panorama. This is an album that doesn't get a lot of respect. People think that they started messing around with their sound and all that sort of thing. That's one of the things that endears me to this album, is that they're trying some new stuff. You know, especially in the first half of the album. The second half of the album is sort of more traditionally Cars sounding from the first 2 records, I think. But on side 1, you start off with Panorama, and then you go into Touch and Go, which I think is a great single, but it definitely does have a slightly darker sound. Give Me Some Slack, Tell Me No, Getting Through, all really good songs. And then, as I say, on side 2, you get songs that sound more like the sort of Cars songs that you're familiar with from those first 2 records. Misfit Kid, Down Boys, You Wear Those Eyes, Running to You, and Up and Down. Really good album. I think this album gets a lot of grief that it doesn't deserve. My number 2 album is 1981's Shake It Up. This one is probably as high as it is, partly for sentimental reasons on my part, I'll admit that, because I first heard the Cars with the title track of this album. I would have been 10 years old at the time, and what a wonderful single Shake It Up is. But I mean, it starts off with Since You're Gone, and that's a really good song too. And then I'm Not the One, Victim of Love, Cruiser, and then some slightly longer songs on side 2. You've got Dream Away, This Could Be Love, Think It Over, and Maybe Baby. Really good album top to bottom. And as I say, you know, the title track might be my favourite Cars single. Not necessarily my favourite Cars song. I'm not sure what that would be, but Shake It Up is such a great single. And then, of course, I don't think it's going to come as any surprise to anybody that my number 1 Cars album is The Cars from 1978, the debut. This album is a stone cold classic for a reason. Not very many people can release a debut album, or any album, let alone a debut album, that basically functions as a greatest hits album. Because just about every song on this album is still played on, you know, sort of classic rock radio and that sort of thing. I mean, Good Times Roll starts off. Then My Best Friend's Girl, great single. Just what I needed. I still remember an old high school friend of mine was in a band when we were at high school. He was a keyboard player. Hi, Tony, if you're watching. And they used to do Just What I Need, and he'd do that wonderful keyboard hook on his synthesizer, and I used to love that. I'm in Touch with Your World, great song. Don't You Stop, really good energetic song to end side 1. And then You're All I've Got Tonight on side 2, Bye Bye Love, Moving in Stereo, and All Mixed Up. I mean, every one of these songs you can still hear on the radio, on like classic rock radio and that sort of thing. Obviously not on top 40, but just a killer album from start to finish. And still their best-selling album too. 6 times platinum in the US, which is pretty incredible, especially for a new wave band. Anyway, that's my Cars studio albums ranked. I'll go through them again. At number 1, The Cars. At number 2, Shake It Up. At number 3, Panorama. At number 4, Candy-O. At number 5, Heartbeat City. At number 6, Move Like This. And at number 7, still a good album and still worth your time, Door to Door. So that's my Cars studio albums ranked. Let me know in the comments what your ranking would be, or what your favourite Cars album is, where you think I got it right, where you think I got it wrong. I love reading the comments. It really does cheer me up when somebody comments on one of the videos. Please like, share and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. If you're new to the channel, please go and have a look at my other videos. I've got plenty of content up there now, and there's bound to be something else there that I think you'd like. If you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I'm at bicyclelegs. On Instagram, I mostly post the records I happen to be listening to at the time. On Twitter, I talk about anything and everything. So thank you very much again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.